With Bristol in the background in Texas this week, Brian and I are here to talk all things Bristol. What went right? What went wrong? Brian finding a winner in back-to-back weeks. Talked our DraftKings lineups. What went right? What went wrong there? And then turn our attention to Texas. We got another intermediate this week. Very excited. Been very, very kind to us this season. So we'll look at the initial odds, maybe see if there's a way we can find some value and let you know who to fade and the guys that we're going to be on, because that's the recipe for success.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining, another week, another outright winner. You've been living the dream, living in that like 10 to 1-ish range, just inside of it. Yep. Tyler Reddick 2 weeks ago, Denny this week. Obviously, we'll have to see who's sitting around there this week as we head to Texas, because I have a name popping in my head. And if we can go 3 in a row, man, that would be glorious. How's everything going for you outside of your Denny Hamlin winner?
Yeah, no, everything's going great, man. Like you and I had been talking about, and I put it in the comments, and then we were chatting before jumping on here. Like, I didn't even get to actually see the end of the race. I was at a dinner Saturday night, which, just out of respect for the patrons of our dinner, I didn't pull my phone out. But when I got in the car to drive home, you bet your ass I went to check the race, and holy crap did I let out one of the loudest F yeahs that almost made my wife deaf. Figuring out that I hit the winner. But yeah,
isn't that like, it sucks to miss a race or to miss a game? Yeah, but like you come out of something where you can't pay attention to it at all, and you check your phone and you see that score, you see the final results, and you see you hit like an outright or a big bet or something. Like, it's one of the better feelings for sure.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because it was one of those moments. Like, I don't know how many people in here used to collect cards, or they watch like the box breaks now, how they put like the cover card over it and they slowly slide it. So when I went to the NASCAR app, I like put my phone down to wait till it fully loaded, and I went really slow to look at it to see who it said was the race winner. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm the psychopath that thinks that like me checking scores is going to have an impact on the game. So that tells you where my head's at. Yeah, so it was obviously a good week for you there. It was an interesting race. I too was at a birthday dinner. I was not as courteous as you, I guess. I was definitely checking lap times every so often just to keep an eye on everything. But got through it. Saw Denny won. It was really, really fun. So let's look at our DraftKings lineups. Let's look at our betting card. And we'll review our season-long bets, as the first cut of the NASCAR Playoffs is here. We're down to 12 drivers. We'll look at the odds for that as well and see if there's anything worth jumping on at this point now that things have been solidified. So Denny obviously was your winner, and was really, really important to having a good week. Unfortunately, couldn't do much else with it. Kevin Harvick might have been the most frustrating guy on Saturday. He's just like a top 10 machine, and he was just, I don't know what was going on. Obviously didn't end up finishing the race, but he was frustrating from go. Early. Are you there?
Yeah, no, I was just, they were like, it was almost as if they brought a setup for a track that wasn't anywhere near similar.
Yeah.
To Bristol.
They brought the Sonoma setup to Bristol, which
for a track that Harvick has been incredible at, to run like that. I mean, it almost makes you think they were intentionally tanking or doing something, playing around with the setup or something to try to find some speed, and went the complete opposite direction of what they should have.
Yeah. And then old Marty just, backwards, didn't have a good race either. I mean, he did get to run most of it as opposed to the week before where he went about a lap and a half before crashing. So that was not fun. Ricky Stenhouse, top tenor. Have a day, Mr. Spinouts. Austin Dillon was very, very average, just kind of sat in place. Larson was the other one you needed. I don't know if we ever really tried to force it, but having Larson and Hamlin in your lineup would have been a really, really nice way to start. I just don't know what the rest of your lineup would be and how gross that would get. But yeah, overall, not the week I was looking for sure. But it was fine. It is interesting with all the laps they ran, the amount of scores relative to normal weeks.
Yeah. And the thing about Larson, like early on, he was finding it difficult to move through the field, but as the race went longer and we didn't get a caution, that was when you started to realize, like, oh shit, this is a possibility.
Yeah.
And when he found himself up front, I thought we had effed up and missed the boat on taking the extra juice post qualifying.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a smash. And obviously got second, so a top 3, top 5, top 10 all would have been really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we didn't take advantage of that. Todd Gilliland, how about that? Starting 30th, got up to 16th. That was a nice performance there. So you put Gilliland, you put Stenhouse, you put Larson, you put Hamlin, and kind of figure out the rest of your lineup. So not the week you're looking for. But I learned some stuff, enjoyed the race, all that good stuff. So this is our future bets from before the season. I have a Reddick, the aforementioned Chase Briscoe. For some reason, we were on him, probably because we thought, oh, he could be really good, and turns out he's actually having the season from hell. Christopher, go ahead.
It's funny that we had Briscoe thinking that was a thing.
Chris Bell 12-1, Bubba 40-1, Austin Dillon, that was interesting, and then Alex Bowman, and then we'll check season win totals. Brian had Bubba, Keselowski, Cindric, Briscoe, Bowman, and Chastain. So a couple names we each have still alive in the fight. Here, I'll show you real quick. The current cut line is right behind Tyler Reddick. So Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Larson, Busch, Bell, and Reddick, with Chastain, Keselowski, Blaney, and Bubba Wallace on the outside looking in. So 3-week sprint to make the Elite Eight, and then obviously 3 more weeks, and then the Final Four to see who can make the Cup Championship. Brian and I had each when did we do these, Brian? Like right before the playoffs, right?
No, so this was preseason. We did all this.
The championship 4, I thought we did later.
Maybe no, I'm pretty sure we did this before the Daytona 500.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I chase obviously, but I had Reddick at plus 275. I have Denny Hamlin, who feels really nice, and Kyle Larson. I put it on Twitter. I think it's a 2-horse race with Hamlin and Larson. You said, hold your horses. So we'll see who else can stick their nose in there. You have Chase Briscoe, which, congratulations on that. But Byron, Blaney, and Denny Hamlin. So we're both on the Hamlin train at this point. I guess for right now, not, no odds considered, but I'm not, what am I doing? Who are you feeling best about as we kind of keep advancing through the playoffs?
I mean, of the ones that I have, it's definitely Denny. I just think from an overall broad picture of what we've seen so far in 2023, he's easily, one of the 4 best drivers.
Yeah. So Larson's minus 400 to make the Final Four. Hamlin's minus 300. So those are nice ones for me. Byron minus 250. That's a nice one for you. Bubba is 15-1. Blaney is plus 475. Ross is plus 450. Brad K 425, Chris Bell plus 280. And then we'll look at the Cup Championship, which is I think more important. So at this point, Larson is the favorite. Truex is behind Byron and Hamlin, even though I think based on where he started. So kind of interesting. And then we have like Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell. Do you trust like Bubba at 100? Obviously wild, but do you trust Blaney or Chastain or Keselowski or even Chris Bell at 14? Do they interest you at all?
I think the only one there that I think I could get behind, even with the shit that happens when he qualifies well, has got to be Christopher Bell, just from an overall speed perspective.
Yeah.
And actually showing the ability to run up front or at least be up front in races. Whereas a guy like Keselowski, yeah, he's good, but he's like a top 5 car. And then Ryan Blaney, you don't know what you're getting from him week to week. And then Ross Chastain and Trackhouse is absolutely shit the bed.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see Bell at 14, despite being 5 points to the good. Reddick is 11 at 3 points to the good. Obviously, a lot can happen. A few of these guys can definitely miss the playoffs if you get the right car in victory lane. Obviously, that makes a difference. Ryan Blaney that wins this week, all of a sudden his numbers looking really good. So if you have confidence in this race or next race, for one of the guys down here to win and get to the Elite Eight, I think it's worth maybe taking a little bit of a splitting your bet and going in here, because if they win the race, then all of a sudden they're in the final 8, and all you need is them to advance to the final 4. Obviously, it's going to be tough for some of the drivers with Truex and William Byron 25 points to the good, but weirder stuff has happened.
I think for me, the only one that I would actually consider betting right now, just based on the type of numbers you're going to get on a week-to-week basis, I think it's got to be that Bubba number at 100-1. With us going to Talladega next week, we know how good Wallace is at super speedways. And yes, there's so much uncertainty with that. There's a lot of variance that comes with super speedway races, but as a whole, there really isn't very many drivers, if any, as good as Bubba at super speedway tracks, putting himself in position at the end to win. Maybe not obviously finding victory lane because it's extremely hard in those races, but just being there at the end. Wallace is amongst the best. And if you're going to give me 100-1 for him to potentially win the championship, when he could solidify his spot in the round of 8 by winning a race and not even worry about his point deficit, I think that's a decent dart throw.
Yeah. I think, we typically don't love betting up here, but Larson at plus 420 and Hamlin at plus 450 feel like really nice bets. With Texas this week, with Charlotte, obviously both can be good at Vegas. Homestead, Miami, like Larson could win at the Roval. He could win at Miami, and all of a sudden he's in the final 4. And like we talked about last time, we kind of recapped the outright odds. The odds for those guys to win the race at Phoenix is going to be like 2.5, 3-1. So if that. So you're telling me I can lock in 4.5-1 now? I'm probably going to do that, because I think, especially given what we see here, Larson minus 400, Hamlin minus 300. Nobody's a guarantee to do anything. But given those odds, given what we expect, and given the races that are coming up, it sure feels like a nice way to lock in some value, knowing that, all of a sudden it's Phoenix and Denny is plus 200 and Larson's plus 225, both coming off of wins at, Homestead and maybe, Vegas or Martinsville or something.
Yeah. And, he's 2-1. Tyler Reddick is still extremely interesting to get to at 2-1 to make championship 4, just because, this 2311 cars have been extremely fast at 1.5s this year. I mean, we're going to Texas, which is kind of similar to that. Reddick was the second best car at Charlotte, which is probably the best comparable to Texas, I guess you could say. and you know how good Reddick is on road courses, and we're going to the Roval in the third race of this round. And then for the next round, you got Las Vegas, where he's fast at, Homestead, where he can run the high line like nobody other than maybe Kyle Larson, and then Martinsville, which, that's kind of a crapshoot for a guy like him. And then Phoenix, like, yeah, maybe he's not great there, but all you got to do is just get to the Final Four to cash this.
Yeah.
And like
if you told me he won Charlotte Road and then he won Vegas, like I wouldn't, or even like just had a good performance at Vegas and Miami.
Yeah, exactly.
I think getting to the I think winning the whole thing seems a little bit long for him, but I think getting to the Final Four is absolutely in range. And honestly, given what we've seen the last few weeks, he's been one of, if not the fastest car week in and week out, and he's always consistently right there, even if he doesn't win. So giving me a shot for him to win, I don't hate it. What's his number to win the championship?
It's way less than it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it's like 11 or 12 now.
It's 11. I mean, we locked him in preseason.
So I don't think either of us actually bet. Neither of us have it on here. Oh, you have it.
I bet him at 16.
I have an outstanding bet with MGM in Vegas, 25-1.
Yeah, that's a number.
Yeah.
That feels good.
Needless to say, I am rooting really hard for the Red Dog here.
Yeah. Okay, so we jump to this week and talk about Texas.
Let's do it.
Kyle Larson, your betting favorite, is short as 4.5-1, as long as 6. Right behind him, Denny Hamlin. They're your kind of co-favorites depending on where you look. The next wave is William Byron, along with Tyler Reddick, who's down to 6.5-1. You can still get 8 at DK, which I think is really nice. Bell, Martin Truex, and then you kind of get into double digits. So I guess among the uber elite favorites, do you have any interest in Larson or Hamlin? And if not, where should I stop scrolling to jump in?
So look, we say that we talk about this ad nauseum. I'm not betting 4.5 on anybody pre-practice and qualifying when, say, Larson F's up in qualifying like he did this last weekend, and you're getting an extra unit on the bet, like knowing how good he was in practice. Same goes for Denny Hamlin. And for what it's worth, Denny Hamlin hasn't exactly been a juggernaut at Texas either, and he wasn't that great during practice and qualifying at Charlotte. So I mean, yes, he's been super fast, but maybe he doesn't look as quick during practice and qualifying here because he has his car set up for maybe the long run. So maybe you get a little better number post practice and qualifying. William Byron, 8-1. I'm not going to add it, but why
I appreciate
is he always posted like this?
I appreciate you.
Doesn't make any sense to me still.
Byron, William, welcome to the betting card, my friend. 8-1. Give it to me. Give it to me. He is the king of 1.5 miles. Like, that's been his bread and butter all season long. He's been absolutely incredible. I know Texas is a little different, but you know what? Even last year, when this wasn't really his bread and butter, he was really, really good. Now, there's some questions about how different the car is. Obviously, hopefully, fingers crossed, they are fixing the tires. We'll see about that. But I don't know. I feel like we talked about it when, the last couple weeks, we've really honed into a certain range for outrights. You hit Reddick, you hit Hamlin, and as soon as I said, who jumps out in this range, there was one name that jumped into my head. And I mean, welcome to the betting card, William Byron.
Yeah, I mean, it makes too much sense. Like, Hendrick always brings speed to 1.5s. Byron has been a qualifying maven this year, and you know, at a track like this, you have to keep in mind the trends of where the winner comes from. And when you look back, I believe it during the NASCAR betting preview show, I found this stat. 8 of the last 9 winners, I believe, started their respective races 9th or better. And I think it's 2 or 3 pole sitters over the last 5 trips here won the race. So, I mean, you got to qualify up front here in order to really have a shot to take home the trophy. And Byron is as good as any of them in terms of doing that so far in 2023.
Started Kansas on the pole back in May. Started Vegas second. Started Kansas. Where did he start this time? Oh, he was only 9th, and he actually went backwards, which is a little concerning. But I'm gonna bank on the grand picture and assume he'll be fine this week. What about Tyler Reddick? Obviously won the race last year. In a different car.
The number is too short. I just worry about what we're gonna see qualifying, because
so if I told you could have 8 to 1 on Byron or Reddick, you're taking Byron every time.
Probably just in terms of consistency and safeness, because
you know who also is really good on pit road and has been the best or among the best team all year long? The 24 car. And when you're talking, when you're talking about fractions of a second that mean everything.
And that's the difference right there, is like, if you're going to tell me, if you took away their names and say you took away their like the amount of wins or whatever that is, and you gave it to somebody and you showed the metrics in terms of amount of penalties, how many times they've had driver induced errors, how many times they've had pit box penalties, like it's greatly in favor of William Byron in this part. So yeah, I don't think there's a question. If you were to bet one of those two guys, I think you got to go the direction of Byron.
Yeah. It makes too much sense. What about the next range? So Chris Bell, Martin Truex, obviously your boy Ryan Blaney. Then we get into like the olds with Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and then Chris Buescher, who traditionally hasn't been good here, and everyone on the NASCAR betting preview decided to go head to head with and fade him like
shit on him. I know.
So of course he's going to win this week. But I guess of the next kind of chunk, who's jumping out to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of like we talked about with Byron early in the year when they were still posting like 9, 10 to 1 numbers that were getting crazy shorter after his qualifying efforts. I think Christopher Bell is somebody to keep in mind in post-qualifying change, because, yeah, he's been fast. He's unloaded fast everywhere. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to do it here, because I don't think he's ever qualified inside the top 10 at Texas over the last 4 trips here. So, it'll be interesting to see there. The other guy, like for me, Ryan Blaney, look, 12 to 1. I want to bet him to win the race, but I don't think I can get there at the 12 to 1 price, because I do not envision him qualifying inside, the top 2 rows. So I don't think you're going to get that much movement out of this number. The reason why I do like him is we saw what he did at Charlotte, which, if I'm not mistaken, I went back and I looked, I don't think we got practice or qualifying for that. So the starting grid was set based on the previous race and whatever the stupid ass metric NASCAR uses. And Blaney surprised everybody and just blew the doors off of everybody with his speed. And so I think there's something to be said with the correlation between those two tracks, and Penske now being able to focus all of their attention on Blaney, because Logano, thank goodness, is knocked out of the playoffs. And so, like, I definitely think Blaney is going to have an edge here over the rest of the Fords, because Penske, Wood Brothers, and even like the back marker Ford teams might be here attempting to assist Ryan Blaney in his pursuit to get into the round of 8.
Brian, if we learned anything from last year and Joey Logano winning, Brad Keselowski is going to win the Cup championship this year. Would that make you more or less upset?
as long as he gets a win, that's all I care, because I have the I have the over a half a win for the season still standing. So whatever, he could win the championship race if that's what that means. But like, no. In all seriousness, no. I don't think I can bet the number 12-1 on Blaney just because
what would you need? Well, like if I give you 15,
I think I would need like the Keselowski 16-1 number, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, think about this. So the books, they're smart people. They're probably looking at past results as well, which Ryan Blaney is amongst the best in the Cup Series and running here. And I mean, he's got, I believe, the best average finish over the last 5 trips here of 5.8, which is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
But 2023 is different. I've said this so many times, so it's hard for me to just be like, oh yeah, no, definitely.
What about though, like, he's not very good at Phoenix, or not Phoenix. He's not very good at Vegas. He wasn't very good at Kansas.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I do worry about that. And I find it interesting that they're going to price up Blaney when you have Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski for RFK, who have been freaking on rails over the last 2 months, and they have longer odds. Now, there is a market that I am hitting Blaney in because I think it's the best way to attack him this week and still get paid with mitigating some risk.
Obviously won at Charlotte, so that's a good sign. But he's kind of been mid, like just inside or just outside the top 10 in a lot of spots. So interesting to see where the books placed him for sure.
Yeah.
Average ass.
No, I can't do it.
Bubba Wallace.
I don't think he's a 20-1 outright guy yet. Like,
Yeah.
we're still talking about.
But if
I love my guy Bubba. What does he have? 3 career wins?
Yeah, but if Blaney is 10-12, Bubba being double that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, they're both mispriced. That's
4th at Vegas, 4th at Kansas 1,
but not
4th at Charlotte,
speed, though.
7th at Darlington. Like, he was running well at Kansas until he had an issue late. He even led 3 laps. 1 at Kansas. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think Kansas is that similar to what we're getting at Texas.
No, that's probably fair. I can't believe, like, we were debating Ross Chastain at like 7, 8, 9-1, and now he's just an afterthought at north of 20. Trackhouse, what happened? I would love a documentary on what happened with Trackhouse this year, because something happened.
Was the from Major League 2. He was the Japanese ball player that told Pedro Serrano he has no marbles. And Ross Chastain has yet to re-find his marbles. That's what I'm going with. He needs that vilifying moment where
Rick Hendrick said, no marbles, no marbles. And he's like, you're right, sir. You're right.
Yeah, like, what the F happened to that team?
I don't know, but I'd love to find out. I don't know if Justin Marks doesn't have the money that he could invest early, or if Chevy is just not doing. I don't know. There's something going on, because that car, like, even with Suarez, like, down the stretch, it's just not the same. Like, I don't know what's going on.
He doesn't have the same speed.
Yeah. All right. Any other outrights? Blowing
No.
the Slowman. All right. Let's jump over and talk some fun numbers, because the outright market is kind of gross. I honestly think you want to be Larson, Hamlin.
Again, it's top heavy. We've talked about this. We talked about this when the season began, that most of the winners were going to come from, the elite of the elite guys.
Yeah. Okay, let's go top tenner and see if we can't find something, because it's going to be pretty gross. But Brad K minus 130, Bubba minus 120 for a top tenner.
He's even money at FanDuel.
He's even money at FanDuel. might have to throw a few shekels. What about your boy, Tyrone? Don't call me Ty Gibbs. Let's look over
Nope.
here. No interest, huh?
The last time I went really heavy on a Ty Gibbs top 10, I believe he wrecked out. So
Right. So it's gonna happen again. Chase Elliott minus $120.
now that one I don't hate. Look, we can hate on Chase Elliott all we want, average ass Chase Elliott, whatever, but he's been pretty good. Like he's quietly been one of the better drivers.
And we're not banking on him at 3-1 to win a race or 5-1 to win a cup
Yeah.
championship. We're asking for a top 10 at around even odds. That's tempting. We'll have to look at what maybe we can find a matchup or something that jumps out.
So I'm looking at his past performances at Texas. He only has one top 10 in the last 5. But he qualifies well. So he's probably his number is probably gonna
So
plummet.
it was 6th at Kansas, 4th at Nashville. Obviously had an issue at Charlotte. 7th at Kansas. Interesting.
Also, just real quick, why the F do we have such a long ass race title? AutoTrader EchoPark Automotive, friggin' 400 or Grand Prix.
I don't know, but they got to get their sponsors in, so stack that money, son. Also, did you see? I know this is a random one-off, but they it looks like the Vegas race next year is in March, early March. Seems like it's a little bit earlier this year. There was a, I don't know if it was a release or a leak or what, but it was not. I thought that was interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Where are you getting this information? Because it better not be
From
the weekend of the NCAA tournament, because then we're
No,
gonna have
it's before then. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th or something.
Oh.
Maybe they moved it because they're moving more stuff to Vegas. I don't know. Anyways, no one cares about that. So Charlotte, Kansas, and Vegas are the per FRCS Pro are the closest similarities. So always want to think about these things through that lens. Obviously, you can mix in a little Nashville, but something to think about. Okay. There was some Bowman love. I don't know what we do with him. This is a place where he crashed and kind of had some. This is where he got his concussion last year. But he's traditionally a guy at a mile and a half that I like, but much like his teammate Chase Elliott, has just not been the same guy for the majority of the season. Missed a few weeks. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, I don't have any faith in Bowman to keep the car on track. Especially after what we saw him and Daniel Suarez do a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, like
what happens if somebody cuts him
scrapping
off
with Suarez to hold on to like 23rd.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm skeptical of that type of stuff.
Yeah, the betting board is interesting this week. I don't love it. What about if we feel much more confident about the upper echelon of the board? Obviously, a top 5 bet on a Hamlin, Larson, Byron, even Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, like any of these numbers interesting to you, or do you think they're still way too short for what you need?
So Blaney is out because there is a market we can talk about right after we talk about this from the top 5 perspective that I'm not interested in that. I do think that there is value in going with Kyle Larson or William Byron in the top 5 market, because you remove the need for both of them to, say, finish ahead of each other or win the race. And you could still have a Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex could pop this week, and Tyler Reddick also finish ahead of them, and both of them still cash that number.
So Byron is plus 225 to top 3, where he's plus 115 to top 5. That feels like a decent enough buy that you could convince yourself that it's the move. Plus 160 on Larson and Hamlin versus minus 130. Also kind of interesting. Obviously,
Hey, you lived this 2 weeks ago with Kyle Larson, buddy.
Brian, this is my thing. If I need you to top 3, you're going to get 4th. If I need you to top 5, you're going to get 6th. If I need you to top 10, you're going to get 11th. That's just the way my season betting has gone. So I can't, like, I could double the bet the top 5 and still get 6th.
Yeah, and also too, real quick on these top 5 numbers, I think you also have to keep in mind that there are only 2 drivers in the last 5 trips to Texas that have 3 top 5 finishes here, and neither of them are in the playoffs anymore. And that's Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano, who have been slow this year, and they're not getting top 5s. And so when you look at a Kyle Larson, I mean, mind you, Kyle Larson has only run here 3 times over the last 5 because he had that little absence, but he only has 1 top 5 in his 3 races. So, it's hard to get there at the minus money, but it offers so much more safety than that top 3 mark.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that extra wiggle room for sure is probably the move. Especially with, like, we feel good about Hamlin, Byron, Larson, and then potentially a Reddick or someone else squeezing in there. So definitely worthwhile.
All right, I'm doing it.
Oh baby. Brad Keselowski minus 130. That feels short to top 10. Like, he's been really rock solid, and I think as a playoff driver and with RFK, he's been much, much better. Has been really good at Texas. Has 9th at Kansas, 6th at Darlington, 11th at Nashville, 19th at Charlotte. But, has been pretty rock solid at this track type majority of the year. It's kind of interesting, but it's just like, do I really want to lay minus 130 at a track where I still am not 100% comfortable with tires, and I do worry about nonsense happening at a point where it ends up crushing my day?
He's started 4 consecutive trips to Vegas inside the top 10. He's finished 4 consecutive Texas trips inside the top 10. And he's been like an 11th or 12th place car in terms of speed ranking in 3 of the 4 1.5 high speed tracks.
This is what I'm saying.
So this is like right on the money in terms of the odds. So I think there is some value there.
I'm gonna go throw up in the corner after I do this, but I'm gonna put him on the card.
All right, so I did want to hit on that one piece with Blaney real quick. So I really like Blaney this week. I can't get there at the 12-1. I think it's too short. His top 10 number too short. Top 5 number, no effing way am I betting plus 140 for Blaney to top 5. No. Top Ford is where it's at. Because when you look at the odds for everyone else in that garage, the only 2 that are legit contenders with him to actually take home this prize are Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, both of whom have worse outright odds. They have worse top 5 odds. They have worse top 10 odds. So in reality, Ryan Blaney should be finishing ahead of them in pretty much every single simulation of this. And you could get him at a way better number than you can at that top 10 mark and still have him finish better than these 2 schmoes, maybe at 12th or 13th, and you're still cashing this bet. Now, you can go to BetRivers, and this is plus 230. So I'm adding that number, but this removes the need of Ryan Blaney to keep the car inside the top 5. So, I mean, if you like him like I do and you think those numbers are too short, just hit this market, and you're really racing against maybe 2 guys, maybe that a-hole Logano who will not help his teammate and will short pit everyone late or take 2 as everyone takes 4 again to F us over. But yeah, I like this way better than any other Blaney market.
If I like Brad Keselowski, should I be dabbling at plus 235, or does he feel like the second or third Ford, no matter kind of what happens, he'll be right around top 10, but he's probably going to be behind either Blaney or Logano or maybe Harvick. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's hard with Keselowski, but I think in the same way, like I feel like this is the market to attack the Ford drivers, because something else it just popped in my head. I was telling Kyle prior to this. I think it's once, or out of the last 14 Texas races, there's only been 3 Fords to win here, and all 3 of those were Kevin Harvick, and that happened, I think, as early as 5 years ago. So I mean, Ford just really hasn't brought it to this track of late, and so it kind of removes them from the outright market, in my opinion.
Yeah. What is Keselowski's top Ford price over on BetRivers?
It's plus 275.
All right, it's going on the card. I did not envision myself hitching my wagons to Brad Keselowski this week, but here we are. So let's go. Top Toyota Denny plus 190. Do you like plus 190 as opposed to minus 130 to top 5, or plus, what was his top 3 price? Bear with me. Top 3 is plus 160.
I see, that one's really rough because he's
You could
such a
still
heavy
top 3
favorite.
with Reddick and Truex or Bell, or
The Toyotas have been so strong of late, and the last 2 winners are Toyotas.
yeah.
I think you're safer. Oh man, this is a risk.
And
But
they also mentioned this Big Ross,
that's right.
famous in the Chris Wormy comments and in the NASCAR betting preview comments. Always this guy, his mind works really well with NASCAR betting.
Yep.
And mentioned that Toyotas tend to do really, really well when it's hot, and it's going to be really hot this weekend in Texas. So hitching your wagon to a Toyota as opposed to a Ford is probably the move. But I'm a big dummy, so Brad Keselowski, baby, let's ride. So yeah, so I think there's gonna be a few Toyotas in the mix, probably like a Bell Reddick Hamlin situation. Are we discounting Martin Truex? Just ignoring him? Feels like a rough track for him, but I feel weird jumping over
if
him.
anybody is going to show up with a vengeance and prove everyone wrong, it's going to be a guy who is like a cat and got his 8th live after barely making it in, and now he's right up near the top of the points board for the playoffs. Like, I think Truex, that reset could have reset his mentality, and this team could come out firing this weekend.
All right, I'm just looking. Chase Elliott is 5-1 to top 3, and he is 7-1 top Chevy. But much like Toyota, I could see Larson or Byron winning and Chase being in the conversation.
Yeah, so I said that during the NASCAR betting preview show. For me, Elliott is more of a placement driver, or just on an outright, because if he's, I mean, realistically, if you're going that far down the board for top Chevy, he has to finish ahead of 2 potential top 3 cars with Busch, who could be a top 5 guy. So he's probably winning the race at that point.
Yeah, just bet him at 20-1 or whatever it is. Fastest qualifier: Dennis Hamlin, Kyle Larson. Byron is 6-1.
You can't bet that on a qualifying. Like,
if you expect speed,
one slip up.
Yeah, but it is the feeling you get though, knowing that you have an outright on somebody. Usually, it's nicer when it's like their outright odds is 20 something to 1, and you hit that qualifying button, and you can cash that, knowing you're free rolling the race. It is really, really nice. It's really, really nice. But yeah,
but you're only free rolling the race when you're not like us, and you literally dartboard the odds board every week.
I mean, but would we be really having fun with like 2 bets every week? I don't think so. Maybe
Heck
we
no,
try
dude.
that
I'm
next
not
year.
here for that. And that's
Maybe
like,
maybe we go like maximum 3 bets every week, just gold, silver, bronze,
that's
and not.
boring as shit.
I know,
I
but
don't even do that with my like actual recreational betting. Okay. Like, look, I would love to be a moneymaker in sports
yeah.
gambling, but I
But
have
then we couldn't spray the board on Saturday.
I
We
have
couldn't.
fun, man. Like, give
Yeah.
me give me all the 4-team first quarter parlays and 3-player touchdown prop parlays. Give me all of that.
Yeah. But what have you learned, Brian, from my wise words as
Oh
you've
yeah, straight bets, baby.
advanced your betting is single bullets have been the key to success.
Yeah, but
Multi-quarter parlays are amazing and fun, and obviously nice when you hit, but
hey, I hit those at probably like a
sup-
30% clip. So
supplemental bets. Sure. Yeah. If you're hitting them 25% of the time, you're loving life.
yeah,
Do
but
you like
and then
anybody in that's more of a long shot? You going to go with your
Ty
boy
Gibbs.
Ty?
Ty Gibbs, that's not even a question. Dude has unloaded with amazing speed at pretty much every effing track we've come to over the last month plus. And if it wasn't for him hitting the wall at was that last week? I
2
think it
weeks
was
ago.
oh yeah, it was at Kansas. He probably gets the pull there, and I'm cashing a freaking Ty Gibbs 25-1 pull thing. Like he's at least putting that on the front 2 rows there. So I mean, he has been really fast. He's been fast at all the 1.5s. He was fast at Vegas. He was fast at both Kansas races. Charlotte, again, we didn't get to see qualifying, but he was probably going to unload extremely fast there. Like during qualifying, give me the long shots. I am not betting a favorite and risking him qualifying the second or third and just being extremely pissed.
Yeah. I'm just Byron, first at Vegas, third at Kansas, first at Darlington, second at Charlotte, sixth at Nashville, fourth at Darlington.
But you're ignoring our guy Big Ross again, though. Think about this: Toyotas, if it's hot as shit, are good and they're going to be fast.
Okay, so let's figure this out because I'm gonna bet something. I haven't decided, but Bell at 4.5-1 is simply too short. I'd rather just bet Byron. Reddick at 625. Is that good enough to fire
On pole?
on pole?
No.
Because let's see, starting. What the hell? Okay. So at Kansas, he started 5th. At Darlington 3rd, Nashville 2nd, Charlotte 15th, Darlington 9th, Kansas 5th.
Yeah, he's been like a third or fourth row car in qualifying.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just bet Byron. Truex 8.5-1.
Yeah, he's never really been
A qualifying
super fast, dude.
machine. Let's see. Started 3rd at Kansas. Started 6th at Nashville. He started 1st at Darlington. He started 4th at Kansas.
So the guy I went to last week, personally, and obviously he shat the bed too, but Kyle Busch, he's driving the 8 car, which Reddick was really good in last year here. Busch has a tremendous history at pretty much every friggin' track we go to. If I'm going to go further down the board for a Chevy, I'm probably looking at Busch and Elliott, honestly, to potentially put it on pole. I know Elliott has been slow, but I cannot bet inside 10-1 realistically for a pole bet.
Yeah. I mean, Bubba's not the answer. I'm just like, is it Ryan Blaney? Is he fast enough?
Yeah, remember they were fast at Vegas, and then they kind of like changed up their setups because they realized their long run speed at those tracks sucked.
So let's see, 17 fourth. Yeah.
Unless, okay, here's another. We're gonna get tinfoil hat here. If now that Logano is eliminated, they set these guys up. They give Blaney the qualifying setup, and they give Logano the long run speed to see what they can tinker with to get Blaney a good starting spot. Okay, I like where your head's at here. They absolutely trimmed the 12 out to put him as far up in the starting grid as possible and make Logano sacrifice his car for the betterment of the team.
I mean, if you want to get gross, Ross Chastain was 8th at Vegas, 3rd at Kansas, 5th at Darlington, 1st at Nashville, and 6th at Kansas.
I don't see any track where he's top 3 even. Because Nashville is not anything similar to Texas.
Yeah. Well, then it sounds like there's not a bet to be made, which is underwhelming, but
Ooh, how about the number of manufacturers? Remember you hit that one last week?
Yeah, that was fun last week. Where are we at?
All the way at the bottom, my friend.
Number of Toyotas. What's our number? 20. That's got hammered, so I don't want to bet.
Oh my gosh, that got freaking obliterated.
If we could get 3.5,
no,
or 4.5, like what would be your number to actually consider it? Like if you to get it, obviously you need to get good odds, but
if it was 3.5, I better be getting like 2-1.
What about I guess what about 3, and then you could push it with 3, and then if you get 4, you win.
Nobody wants to push.
Right, everybody wants to win, but okay, Chevys over 4.5.
What about Fords?
Over 3.5 inside or under is minus 150. What about this and that? Can we parlay those?
Okay, single bet, man. Now you're trying to parlay.
Well, I'm just parlaying like stuff that I expect to happen.
I do like the Ford under 3.5 though, because I mean, realistically, who in that camp has top 10 speed?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shot this year.
You know what, Brian? Who said we have to have huge payouts or huge odds advantages? If we find a number that makes sense, under 3.5 Fords in top 10, which is perfect to go with my Brad Keselowski exposure at Caesars. And I am going to throw, let's see, what's my odds? Minus 150. Fine. I'll take it. I will take it. You know what's going to happen, right? We're definitely getting 4 guys in the top 10 at like 6, 7, 8, and 9.
So they've had 4, 3, and 4 the last 3 trips to Texas. But keep in mind, 2022 in the next gen car is not the same as 2023 in the next gen car. And Ford has kind of taken the mantle that Toyota showed last year at a lot of these tracks, and they suck. They do not have speed at these high speed tracks. So I'm expecting maybe 1, maybe 2. We got to look at matchups real quick before we.
Oh, yeah.
Out of there. I forgot.
Appreciate everybody hanging around with us. Brian and I have been kind of disjointed tonight. We're off in La La Land. We're very excited about the race. Hopefully you're finding some bets that help you. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you smash the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button and let us know your favorite bet for Sunday's race. That's right, Sunday, not Saturday. It's not Bristol, baby. It's Texas. Logano plus 120, Brad K minus 150. Oh, wait, these are qualifying bets. Maybe we could find some fun in there. Truex versus Elliott. Byron versus Bowman. Jesus.
Good Lord.
Hamlin plus 110. Harvick, Reddick. Yeah, those all stink.
I mean, you could just mortgage the farm on Reddick on that one against Harvick. I mean, that's probably happening.
Let's see. So Brad K plus 110 against Christopher Bell. Bubba plus 102 versus Brad K is kind of interesting. But I think if he beats Brad K, he's probably closer to like a top 5, so it might not be worthwhile.
I think that's very dependent on how you feel Keselowski is going to do.
And we all know where I stand. So fade Brad K and smash Bubba. Tyler Reddick plus 110 against Denny is kind of interesting. They're probably a little bit closer than those odds indicate. Chase plus 1. Ooh, I kind of like that.
I almost want to bet Kyle Larson over Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, but isn't it like the same odds?
Well, it's minus 110 for Larson at BetMGM, but like obviously it's dangerous fading Denny right now, but
I'm sorry to do this to you, Brian. Chase Elliott over Ryan Blaney. Welcome to the card. Although maybe that's the good thing. Maybe Ryan Blaney wins this week because I'm fading him. Blaney over Reddick.
I can't bet against Red Dog.
His car this week is sweet.
Oh, it is, yeah.
He might have the best like week-to-week race car. Like
the fact that they are leveraging like the Jordan brand into NASCAR, I think that is like the perfect marriage.
As someone who grew up collecting Jordans and has had them their whole life, it's a chef's kiss. Just muy bien.
Yeah. I don't understand why the books aren't giving us like mid-tier matchups anymore. All we get now is
football is back, and they don't have time to do what they're doing, let alone give us extra stuff.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit, but you know what? That's where we are as a betting community. We have to come together. We have to keep betting. We have to push the books to give us better odds, better options, and more value. Because at this point, it's like table tennis, women's softball, underwater basket weaving, and then NASCAR.
Probably friggin' darts too, honestly.
Oh yeah, darts can be electric.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Should we review the cards? Give the people a best bet and get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it before we get too out of control.
I'm really proud of myself, to be honest, because I kept it. I mean, you did even better than I did. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, William Byron outright, Brad K to top 10, Brad K to top Ford, under 3.5 Fords to be in the top 10, which my goal is 1, and it's Keselowski and no one else. And then Chase Elliott over Ryan Blaney at plus 100. Brian has 2 bets. One of them's a poll bet, thanks to Tyrone Gibbs, and Ryan Blaney as the top Ford, and that is it. Practice and qualifying will tell us a ton. I think once that happens, Brian will be firing.
Oh yeah.
But as we sit here right now, Brian, is Ryan Blaney your top Ford, your best bet as we sit here on Wednesday night?
I'm not going to claim it as my best bet. I am going to claim it as my favorite bet pre-practice and qualifying, just based on the value. Yes.
Yeah. So don't mortgage your home to go bet that. Just know that that's where Brian's head's at as we sit here. I think I have to do it just because of the value and because of where my odds indicate. I love Brad Keselowski as a top 10, but I sure feel like he's going to get 11th in the race. But I'm going to go under 3.5 Fords in the top 10. I'm hoping for 3, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. And then, cash that minus 150. Have a nice week. You can bet longer odds. It doesn't feel good, and the payout's not quite as nice. But they're priced accordingly for a reason. So
yeah,
that is where my head's at. That is where my dollars are at. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go check out the NASCAR betting preview show hosted by Derek Yoder. Make sure you subscribe to Chris Wormey's YouTube page. Will also be in the description. So you can get his pre-race poll, quality content. Brian and I will be back for your feed Sunday morning. So make sure you are subscribed so you can join the show. Make sure you turn on the bell notifications so you know when it goes live. And if you can't make YouTube for some reason, we are on Spotify. So make sure you check that out. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. So if you can't view the show, which is obviously the most ideal way to see the odds, see our faces, all that good stuff. You can pick us up on the road, on your way to work, on your way to the track, on your way to your activities on the weekend. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. We'll talk to you next time.